There are moments in life that arrive quietly, almost like a gentle knock on your heart, and leave a mark you never expect. I thought this trip would be simple. A few days away, a hotel, a change of scenery. But life had other plans. The rain greeted us first, as if the sky itself knew something remarkable was about to unfold. Each drop was heavy, patient, and somehow comforting, reminding me that even when the world seems chaotic, there is beauty in the quiet persistence of care. The hotel was ordinary, its corridors lined with familiar carpets and the scent of warm coffee drifting from the lobby. But the night was anything but ordinary. Hidden in the folds of everyday life were small gestures and fleeting glances that carried volumes of meaning. In the dim glow of the room, laughter and stories intertwined with moments of reflection that seemed almost sacred. There, in that fragile, fleeting space, I witnessed something profound. The unspoken bond that forms between souls when time slows down, when the trivial distractions of life fade away, and you are left with presence. It wasn't about grand declarations, nor about the things said out loud. It was about the subtle ways trust, care, and connection reveal themselves when hearts are open, and when attention is given without expectation. That night, as the city lights shimmered through the rain-streaked window, I realized that life's most unforgettable experiences aren't always the loud or dramatic ones. They are the quiet awakenings, the shared smiles, the trust quietly given and received, and the love that doesn't need to be named to be felt. That trip, that hotel, and the moments within, simple, honest, and profound, became a chapter I will carry forever. A hidden tale of a love that doesn't demand recognition, but lives in the depths of shared experience. Life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. Often, we walk through our routines with a sense of certainty, believing that ordinary days will remain ordinary, that trips will be predictable, that experiences will follow a script we've written in our minds. And yet, it is in those moments when the unexpected creeps in quietly, almost imperceptibly, that life reveals its capacity to astonish us. What begins as a simple plan, a short trip, a hotel stay, a change of scenery, can evolve into something far richer than any anticipation. There is a subtle magic in the ordinary, in the unnoticed, in the spaces we assume are unremarkable. The hotel itself, with its carpeted corridors and faint hum of air conditioning, seemed like nothing more than a temporary shelter, a pause between one day and the next. But the world has a way of hiding extraordinary encounters in mundane settings. Sometimes it is the way the light falls across a hallway at just the right hour, or the smell of coffee mingling with rain outside that stirs a memory you didn't know you carried. The most unforgettable moments often arrive not as a spectacle, but as a gentle insistence that you pay attention. The rain that afternoon was a subtle prelude, a quiet chorus that accompanied the unfolding of events. Each drop seemed patient and deliberate, as if reminding me that even the simplest circumstances carry meaning, if we only pause long enough to notice. When ordinary plans collide with the unexpected, there is a space that opens. A kind of suspended time where the smallest details become significant. It is in the laughter that slips out unguarded, the stories that tumble over themselves in moments of ease, the gestures that seem insignificant until you feel the depth behind them. There is an unspoken understanding that life is not measured by the grandeur of events, but by how fully we inhabit the moments we are given. A trip that could have been simply a line on a calendar transformed into an experience where each second felt charged with presence and attention. Even the hum of the hotel lobby, with its muted conversations, and the soft scrape of chairs across the floor became part of the texture of this unexpected revelation. Ordinary spaces, it seems, are only ordinary until something stirs within them. A glance shared, a smile exchanged, a moment of reflection in a quiet corner, all can turn a simple hotel stay into a memory that refuses to fade. Life's surprises are rarely loud, they arrive softly, patiently, asking only that we notice. The beauty of these moments is in their quiet insistence, the way they catch us off guard, the way they show us that life's richness often hides just beneath the surface of the routine. It is in this subtle unfolding, in the collision of expectation and surprise, that we learn the truth of life's unexpected gifts. A trip that could have been ordinary becomes unforgettable, not because of the location or the luxury, but because of the way ordinary circumstances reveal the extraordinary capacity for connection, reflection, and presence. The unexpected transforms the mundane into the sacred, and in those quiet awakenings, we realize that life's most profound experiences often come when we stop expecting them. There is a certain kind of silence that speaks louder than words, a quiet so profound that it carries the weight of unspoken emotions. In the hotel room, that silence seemed to settle around us like a soft blanket, thick enough to muffle the world outside, yet thin enough to let small details pierce through with remarkable clarity. The air carried the faint scent of polished wood and fresh linen, ordinary enough to pass unnoticed on any other day, yet somehow charged with an intimacy that made each breath feel deliberate, each glance more attentive. Moments like these have a way of sneaking in unnoticed, catching us off guard with their simplicity, until we realize that the ordinary has been transformed into something almost sacred. The light spilling through the window, the gentle hum of the air conditioning, the way shadows stretched across the carpet, they all seemed to conspire to create a space where time slowed, where ordinary gestures could become monumental. It was in this quiet that the trip began to reveal its depth, where the ordinary transformed into a canvas for memory, reflection, and connection. It wasn't the grand gestures or planned excursions that made the moment unforgettable. It was the subtleties that often go unnoticed, the ones that linger long after a trip has ended. The way a hand rested lightly on the edge of a chair, the small shared smiles over an inside joke, the gentle curiosity in asking about thoughts that are usually left unspoken. These were the textures of the memory being created. Life has a way of teaching us that presence is the rarest form of love, that being fully attentive in small, unnoticed moments often matters more than 1,000 orchestrated spectacles. Even the mundane tasks, unpacking bags, arranging towels, choosing what to wear, suddenly seemed layered with significance. Every motion, every sound, every sigh of contentment or surprise contributed to a tapestry of experience that could not have been planned or predicted. It is in the quiet attentiveness, the noticing of what others might overlook, that the extraordinary often reveals itself. There is also a delicate vulnerability in these moments, a recognition that life is not simply a sequence of events, but an intricate interplay of emotions, choices, and awareness. Each smile or glance is magnified because it is shared without pretense, without the expectation of anything beyond its simple truth. In that hotel room, the boundaries between ordinary and extraordinary blurred, showing that the most powerful experiences often occur when we least expect them, when we are simply present and open. Time stretched in gentle waves, each second folding into the next, with the subtle weight of unspoken understanding. These were moments that demanded nothing but attention, yet gave everything in return. Memories etched not in spectacle, but in the quiet, deliberate act of noticing. By the end of the day, it became clear that the essence of the trip was not in the destination, nor in any activity, but in the space created for awareness and connection. The hotel room, once just a temporary stop, had become a vessel for experience, a witness to the quiet unfolding of life's hidden moments. It was a reminder that the most unforgettable experiences are often the ones we do not chase, the ones that arrive softly, patiently, in the midst of what seems ordinary, only to leave an imprint that time cannot erase. The evening unfolded with a rhythm that seemed both deliberate and accidental, as though the world had conspired to slow down just enough to let each detail be felt. There was a warmth in the hotel room that had nothing to do with the radiator humming quietly in the corner. It came from the subtle energy of shared space, the kind that quietly assures you that the ordinary can hold extraordinary weight if only you notice. The soft flicker of the bedside lamp cast gentle shadows that danced across the walls, painting the room in muted golds and honeyed browns. Even the smallest objects, the worn armchair in the corner, the stack of hotel brochures on the table, the faint outline of a vase that had probably once held flowers, seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Each detail, seemingly mundane, became part of a larger narrative, as if the room itself had absorbed the possibility of transformation. There were moments of laughter that arrived softly, almost unbidden, and moments of quiet reflection that hung in the air like an invisible thread. They reminded me that connection is not always loud, not always performed or declared. It is often in the gentle gestures, the turning of a page, the careful placement of a cup on a saucer, the soft curiosity in watching someone's eyes follow a shadow across the floor. These were acts that could easily have been overlooked, yet they carried an intimacy that was impossible to ignore. It is remarkable how silence and observation can carry more meaning than words ever could, how the smallest movements reveal truths that no conversation could articulate. In that stillness, the ordinary was elevated, becoming something almost sacred. The night pressed on, yet there was no rush, no insistence on filling the space with activity. The hotel room became a quiet sanctuary, a place where each moment could be examined, appreciated, and remembered. A simple walk to the window to watch the city lights flicker across wet pavement became a meditation, a gentle acknowledgement of life's fleeting beauty. The hum of distant traffic, the occasional laughter from a corridor, the muted click of the elevator, they were all part of a composition that felt entirely alive. The ordinary became profound because it was witnessed, because it was shared, because it carried the subtle tension of impermanence. There was also an unspoken understanding of vulnerability, a quiet awareness that life often asks us to open ourselves in ways that are unexpected. In these hours, there was no need for pretense, no need for performance. Each small action, pouring a drink, adjusting a pillow, asking a simple question about comfort, became an act of care, an acknowledgement of presence. These moments carried weight because they were authentic, because they were chosen, because they were noticed. The simplicity of shared space, of attending to the mundane, became a vessel for memory and for connection. Time seemed to bend in those hours, each second folding into the next, each pause magnifying the richness of ordinary experience. By the end of the evening, it was clear that the memory being created was not in grand gestures or orchestrated events, but in the gentle, deliberate attention to each other and to the world around us. The night held a quiet power, a reminder that the smallest, most unnoticed acts often leave the deepest imprint, it was in these moments, ordinary yet extraordinary, that the essence of the trip revealed itself. A silent testament to the beauty of shared presence and the subtle depth of human connection. The morning arrived like a soft confession, diffused through the curtains and spilling across the room in muted gold and pale lavender. It was the kind of light that asked nothing, yet made everything visible, illuminating the small, unnoticed details that yesterday had left in shadow. The faint scent of coffee, brewing from the hotel's cafe, drifted up the corridor, mingling with the subtle aroma of fresh linens. And it was in that quiet, ordinary atmosphere that the real moments of the trip began to reveal themselves. There was a rhythm to moving through the space together, a gentle negotiation of pace and attention, as if every step, every gesture, carried weight far beyond the simplicity of the action. The sound of shoes against the carpet, the soft rustle of a jacket being folded, the careful closing of a door, all of it became part of a larger, unseen melody, a reminder that life's significance often hides in the smallest motions. As we prepared for the day, the world outside seemed to wait, patient and expectant, as though granting permission to savor the unfolding experience. Breakfast in the hotel's sunlit dining room offered its own quiet surprises. The way the sunlight glinted off silverware, the subtle curve of steam rising from a cup of tea, the gentle murmur of other guests in the background. There was a freedom in the ordinariness of it, a permission to simply exist in the shared space, noticing what could easily have gone unnoticed. Each moment held a fragile intimacy, the kind that doesn't announce itself with fanfare, but settles quietly in memory, like a whispered secret. Conversations were gentle, exploratory, with laughter that came easily and pauses that allowed reflection. There was a realization that connection is not built only in grand gestures or dramatic statements, but in the subtle ways we attend to one another and the world around us. The day unfolded with a curious mix of movement and stillness. Small adventures, walking down a narrow, cobbled street, pausing to admire a fountain, lingering in front of a display of pastries, were punctuated by moments of quiet observation, of noticing details that might otherwise pass unremarked. The ordinary became extraordinary because it was shared, because attention was given without expectation, because the act of witnessing itself was an affirmation of presence. Each glance, each smile, each small exchange carried the weight of unspoken understanding. It was in these fleeting moments that the depth of the trip became evident. The way shared experience slowly etches itself into memory, shaping perception and sentiment in ways that words cannot fully capture. By the afternoon, there was a calmness, a gentle acknowledgement that what mattered was not what was planned, but what was lived. The hotel, once merely a place to stay, had transformed into a vessel for memory, a quiet witness to the unfolding of a small, profound story. There was a subtle magic in the mundane, in sitting on a balcony and feeling the breeze, in watching shadows lengthen across the floor, in noticing how the ordinary light of the day could become extraordinary when observed together. Time seemed to stretch and fold, allowing for the awareness that moments like these are rare, fleeting, and precious. As evening approached, the room returned to a quiet stillness. The air holding the weight of experiences accumulated and the anticipation of what would follow. In these final hours, it was clear that the true significance of the trip was not in sightseeing or activities, but in the shared attentiveness, the gentle presence, and the subtle discoveries of everyday life made extraordinary by closeness and care. There was an unspoken promise in the way the day had been spent, that even in ordinary moments, one can find a richness that lingers, an imprint of memory that stays long after the lights are dimmed and the doors are closed. The day had offered a quiet revelation, a testament to the beauty of attention, the depth of shared presence, and the tender, unassuming power of simply being together. And as the day came to a close, I realized that the trip had become far more than a journey to a distant place. It had been a journey into the quiet corners of human connection, into the unspoken bonds that shape our lives, into the small acts of courage and honesty that leave their mark long after the moments have passed. Every glance shared, every smile exchanged, every pause to simply notice the world together had been a thread weaving a story far greater than the hotel walls, far richer than the destinations on a map. Life often whispers its lessons in the smallest gestures, in moments we might otherwise overlook. It reminded me that love is rarely loud or dramatic. It lives in patience, in care, in trust extended without expectation. It lives in the bravery to be present, to witness, and to carry the fragile weight of one another's hearts with tenderness. And in that truth, I found a profound gratitude for the chance to be part of these quiet stories, for the unanticipated lessons, for the beauty hidden in everyday moments. Thank you for letting me share this story with you tonight. Thank you for being here, for listening, for allowing yourself to feel the gentle, quiet power of honesty, courage, and connection. May we all remember that the most unforgettable moments are often the ones that quietly shape us, that remind us to hold one another close, and that teach us the extraordinary value of the ordinary. Goodbye for now, and may your days be filled with these hidden tales of love, courage, and unspoken bonds that linger far longer than words can tell.